Sup, YouTube? This is Hylanderrr. Today, I want to talk about televised esports. Yeah, televised esports are a thing, or they're becoming a thing, I should say. My interest in this started with the whole Heroes of the Dorm thing that happened on ESPN2 a couple months ago back in April. If you didn't hear about it, I'll include a link in the description so you can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, what it was, they played the game Heroes of the Storm, which just came out at the beginning of June. It's made by Blizzard. You may or may not have played it. You may or may not have any idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, basically, they had college students from around the country playing each other. The winner ultimately won a full ride scholarship. They had everything in college, their whole tuition paid off, and that was the ultimate prize. So when this whole thing went down, Colin Cowherd, this guy on ESPN, he's a TV and radio personality, he basically said that if he was ever forced to cover an esports event, he would retire. And man, that was the ultimate disrespect to the esports world. I didn't like it. Like, I thought the dude was pretty cool before that, but once he said this, I'm like, hey, you know what, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, to continue, the whole event, the Heroes of the Dorm I was talking about, only got 100,000 viewers on ESPN2, which by ESPN standards is a flop. So, combined with Cowherd's comments, this whole thing did not go down well. And a lot of people thought, man, like, this is not good. Like, esports are going to flop on TV. This whole event just did not go how they wanted it to. But I'm here to tell you that that does not set the tone for the future of televised esports. One of the main arguments against esports is that they aren't real sports. They don't belong on sports networks. There's nothing physical about them. There's nothing entertaining about them. They're not going to pull in new viewers. ESPN isn't completely dedicated to sports programming. So even if esports aren't real sports, it doesn't matter because they don't have to be. So ESPN shows poker. They show a bunch of people sitting around a table playing cards for money. That's not a sport. You can argue that it is, but I really don't think you're going to win the argument. And they show the spelling bee. The spelling bee is interesting because in 2012, it averaged around 1 million viewers, which that's decent. I'm not hating on the spelling bee. Like it's fun to watch sometimes. I'm not a big fan myself, but a lot of people do enjoy watching it every year. But compared to the 2014 League of Legends World Championship, it has nothing on it. That the World Championship had 11 million viewers last year, in just the championship match. Overall, I believe it had like 27 million unique viewers throughout the tournament. That's comparable to the World Series. Baseball, America's pastime, had, I believe the number was like 28 million viewers max during Game 7 of the World Series last year. You know, don't quote me on that, but it was around there. So basically, the League of Legends World Championship overall comparable to the World Series, kinda, but definitely bigger than the spelling bee. That's for sure. The next point I want to get to is that esports are fine how they are, and they would be more successful through online streaming. And in a way, it is true because the community already exists here. However, there are opportunities on television that don't exist through the internet. For one, right now, the market is kind of contained. It's a really niche audience, and you have the same people watching it every week. You're not exposed to any new people. You don't really open yourself up to outside marketing. There are people in this world that don't even realize that esports are a thing. So through television, esports would grow. I spoke to Sharp, member of Team Caliber, a few weeks ago at the Season 3 relegation tournament, and he basically agreed with me. He said that if exposed to television, the industry would grow. And here, I will include the interview here so you know exactly what was said.
So do you think esports would benefit if they were televised like on ESPN, ABC, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, any more exposure than we already have would be good. So obviously if it's on a mainstream media like ESPN, it would grow popularity.
Can you see ESPN allowing that to happen? Do you see them going that direction?
Well, they already have, I believe they have Dota 2. I don't know about Call of Duty, maybe because it's a shooter game. That's where you kind of run into issues with that, but yeah.
Alright, so sorry the quality kind of sucked. I tried transferring the original file to my computer and it was not cooperating. So there's that. Sorry about that. Anyway, I wanted you to see that there actually are pros that agree that televised esports would be good. However, he did bring up another good point. Call of Duty and games like it aren't really fit for television, and it's because they're graphic. I mean, you're shooting people, you're killing people. That's not really good for small kids watching TV. Anyway, beyond that, there are ways around it. So the first way to get around this is to focus on nighttime television. This is when most adult programming is broadcast anyway. So if you don't really want younger kids to be exposed to this, you show it at nighttime. Shouldn't be a problem. Second way to get around it is just simply just give it the TVMA rating. Like some of the biggest TV shows out there right now, like The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, they're TVMA. They're extremely popular. People aren't scared by that rating. It just shows that, hey, this is graphic. You might not want your kids to watch it. So even though most sports programming isn't necessarily graphic, I mean, there are instances in like racing where people are killed. For example, in 2011, I believe ABC was broadcasting the IndyCar race at Las Vegas when Dan Whelan was killed in a horrific crash. I do not recommend you watching it if you haven't seen it already. It was broadcast live, so things like that do happen. And it's not uncommon. So the rating would warn you, say, hey, this kind of graphic, you might not want to watch it. Anyway, beyond that, there's a lot of good that would come from televised esports. For the sports industry, like the sports programming industry, like the ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever, if they pick up these tournaments and such, they're going to benefit because they're going to pull in new people. They're going to pull in new sponsorships. Yeah, you're going to have people like Scuff, Control Freaks, BenQ, such and such. They're going to come in. They're going to give these companies new sponsors that they didn't have before. That's good for that industry because they're going to be picking up new people. They're going to be picking up new sponsors. They're going to benefit. For the esports industry, like Sharp said, it will help the industry grow because it'll be exposed to more people. It's not going to be exposed to the same small niche market that it is now. Although online streaming is good, I'm not saying drift away from the whole online streaming. That's good. It's good because look at what I'm doing now. This is YouTube. You're watching me through YouTube. That's good for the industry. It's good for the community. So I'm not saying to stop using the internet. Secondly, the esports industry has extremely marketable players like Nadeshot. Like this dude pulls in so much money. He's loaded. And he is a perfect example of how Major League Gaming can make themselves grow. You have, like, the NBA, marketing LeBron James. Hey, here's LeBron. He's the best basketball player on the planet. Come watch him. Buy tickets. Buy his apparel. Give us your money. MLG has the same deal. Nadeshot has his own clothing line. He participates in tournaments, or he used to. He might again in Black Ops 3. Who knows? So come watch our events. Watch us online. Give us your money. It's the same deal. So basically, we have the community, we have the players and the teams. I forgot to mention the teams like Optic. Like people watch tournaments just for Optic. I mean, and you have the other teams, they have fans too. It's not as big, but it will continue to grow because it is still a new industry. It's still small, and the Call of Duty community is still small compared to like League of Legends. I'm not too big into that. I don't know much about it, but I know that whole deal has been growing for years, and it's big, so that's good for them. I want to focus on Call of Duty. So you do have the players and you have the teams there to help the industry grow. People are going to watch it because they're fans. That's the whole point. They're exactly like the real world sports industry. There are so many similarities. It would be successful. That's the whole point. It would be successful. It can happen. One more point I want to make about the sports industry that already exists. So the companies like NBC, ABC, ESPN, they pay like the NFL, NBA, MLB. They pay them for broadcasting rights. Just a couple years ago, the companies that broadcast NFL, they paid them $29 billion, I believe it was, over the next 9 seasons. Well, this was in 2011, so it's up to 2020. Until then, they paid them $29 billion, and they're actually losing money in the short term because they're forking out all this money, and the revenue coming in from these events aren't making up for it. So they rely on broadcasting other shows around it and advertising for these shows to pull in people, and that's how they make the revenue. And this is called a loss leader. So the final point I want to make here is that these companies aren't going to rely on this sponsorship to make the money. They're not going to be a loss leader. They're going to be able to advertise to new people, but they're also not going to have to fork out billions of dollars because this is a newer industry, and ultimately they're going to make money from it. So it's good for the sports industry. It's good for the esports industry. That's all there is to it. It's good. It's a good thing, and it will happen. Finally, I talked to 2 commentators, Maven and Maze. Maven, I'm sure you all know him. Maze, you've probably heard him. He's commentated for MLG a few times, and he works with UMG. So they both agreed that it is moving in that direction. Maven believed that streaming was better than television, but he believed that television was going to happen. Maze, however, he gave me a list. I talked to him, and he gave me a detailed list of what needed to happen before the change can be made. So basically, I'm not going to list it right now, but I will include it in the description so you can read it if you want to. Basically, he just highlighted 5 points of things that are going to happen before the full transition is going to be made to television. And they're good points. They make sense. And my point here is that esports on television are going to happen eventually. They're not going to happen right now because, like Maze said, there's a few things that have to happen before then, but they are going to happen because it's moving in that direction. The industry is growing. It's getting big. And within a few years, we will be watching Nadeshot on ESPN. Well, maybe not Nadeshot because, you know, he's already retired and all, but somebody, we're going to be watching something. We're going to be watching Attach on ESPN. He's going to be there. Anyway, the point is, this is going to happen eventually. And I can't fit every single point within this video because I'm going to be talking forever, and I don't want to do that. But I really want to hear what some of you have to say. Please give me your input. Please tell me what you think. If you disagree with me, I would love to have a conversation with you and tell you why it's going to happen. But if I can't convince you, then maybe you can convince me the other way. Maybe this is all for nothing. Or maybe I'm going to change your mind. Please let me know what you think about it. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what's up. Tell me what's on your mind. I'm out of here. Peace out.